Hello, and a very pleasant good day to you wherever you may be. Welcome to this special Cooperstown Bound video. Today we're getting right back into baseball, and we're picking up where we left off with the all-time greatest teams videos. And we're doing today
the AL West.
AL West.
So the AL West has the Astros, the Angels, the A's, the Mariners, and the Rangers. All the teams have been around for over 70 years, and some of the teams are better than others. Well, especially the A's, because they've been around since the AL began. And yeah, we're going to get right into it. I'm going to start us off, and we're going in alphabetical order as always. And I'm going to start us off with the Astros. And the Astros starting catcher is going to be Craig Biggio. Now, I know that Craig Biggio was more of a second baseman than a catcher, but he played some catcher. But there's another guy at second who would make sense being the second baseman. So Craig Biggio played for the Astros his whole career, from 1988 to 2007, and he won 5 Silver Sluggers. I think he won them all at second, but whatever. Okay, at first base, this is probably the best player in the history of the franchise. This is Jeff Bagwell. He played from them also his whole career, from 1991 to 2005, and he won the AL MVP in 1994. We put that 1994 season, I'm pretty sure, on our top 10 hitting seasons of all time video, as he put like a 1200 OPS up.
He went crazy that year.
Yeah, and he's a Hall of Famer. He had over 400 career home runs, and he's probably the best player in the Astros history. So, second base, guy I was talking about, Jose Altuve. Now, Jose Altuve, he's really been like the face of the Astros team for the past 10 years, even with the trash cans and all that stuff, but I just felt like he had to be on the list. He's really good, but he's played for them from 2011 to he still plays for them now, and he won the AL MVP in 2017, controversially.
It's very controversial.
As the team was cheating.
Yeah.
So moving on, third base. This was a tough position because the Astros don't have a lot of good third basemen. I was thinking Alex Bregman, but Alex Bregman hasn't really played for them for too long, and he's only had like 3 good years with the Astros. I ended up going with Morgan Ensberg.
Comment below if you've ever heard of Morgan Ensberg.
And so Morgan Ensberg, he played for them from 2000 to 2007, and he had a 945 OPS in 2005, so just kind of a fun fact. And so at shortstop, another cheater, but he's still pretty good because the Astros shortstop options aren't very good. That's Carlos Correa. So Carlos Correa played for the Astros from 2015 to 2021, and his best season for the Astros was probably in 2021 when he finished like 6th in the MVP voting and won a platinum glove at shortstop. So he's a great fielder, he's a good hitter. I think he's on the list for the Astros. Left field, interesting one. So there were 2 guys. There was Jose Cruz, who played for the Astros for like 11 years and put up like a 780 OPS, so he was played for them for a long time and wasn't all that bad. And there was Moises Alou, who only played for them for 4 seasons, but had like a 930 OPS. So I ended up going with Moises Alou, and he played for him from 1998 to 2001, and he had a 1039 OPS in 2000. And fun fact, he had a 1039 OPS in 2000, and he finished 20th in the MVP voting.
We couldn't believe that when we saw that, and it just goes to show what the steroid era did to stats. I mean, how do you finish 20th with an OPS over 1,000? Yeah,
that'd be like, he'd probably be second or first.
It's mind-blowing.
Today.
Yeah.
In center field, this was a little tougher. The Astros outfield isn't as good as their infield, but I ended up going with Cesar Cedeno, who played for them from 1970 to 1981, and he was a speedster with some pop in his bat. He had 61 stolen bases in 1977, so he's really known for his speed. Now, in right field, another steroid-era guy, a big power bat, is Richard Hidalgo. Richard Hidalgo played for them from 1997 to 2004, and he posted a 1028 OPS in 2000. So they had 2 guys who posted an OPS over 1,000 in 2000. Well, that kind of sounds weird, but maybe Jeff Bagwell did it too. But that team was good. They had Craig Biggio also. They just didn't have a lot of good pitching. So for the starting pitchers, this was weird because the guy that's the starting pitcher is also the starting pitcher for 2 other teams in the AL West.
Not giving this away at all.
Yeah, totally not. But it's Nolan Ryan. Nolan Ryan, probably he played for 4 teams in his career, and this is probably he was probably his second best with this team. He played from the Astros from 1980 to 1988, and he had a 1.69 ERA in 1981. And of course, he strikes out a ton of batters. He also walks a ton of batters, but that's what you get with a guy who throws that hard.
We looked at other players like, Mike Scott could be considered.
Roy Oswalt.
He mowed down, the 86 Mets in the playoffs that year. And then, of course, I argued, but we looked up his stats, and I think Gabriel was right on this one. I did argue for J.R. Richard here, but he was just reaching his peak when, unfortunately, he had that tragic stroke in
1980.
In 1980, yeah, and it basically ended his career. So, I don't know, fun to think about what J.R. Richard could have become, had he not had the health problems. He was on his way to being, Cy Young winner in 1980 and probably the best pitcher in baseball at that point. He was still very young.
Yeah. So, starting, we have 2 bullpen pitchers. And the first bullpen pitcher, one of the best relievers of all time, that's Billy Wagner. Billy Wagner pitched for the Astros from 1995 to 2003, and he recorded 44 saves in 2003. So he was very good for them. And our second one was actually one of the bullpen arms for the Tigers. This is Jose Valverde. He pitched for them for only 2 seasons, but the Astros don't have a great bullpen over the years. Pitched for them in 2008 and 2009, and he had 44 saves in 2008. So, moving on, next team is the Angels, and you're going to talk about them.
I'm going to do the Spidey's beloved Angels here. Shout out to the Kleshka crew over there at Kleshka Vlogs. We love you guys. All right, so starting at catcher for the Angels, this is Brian Downing, and this is somebody from my era in the 80s. He played from 78 to 90 for the Angels. Had a good season in 87 with a ton of walks. He walked 106 times in 87 and posted a really good on-base percentage. First base, you've probably heard of this guy, and he played for a couple different teams in his career, but it was actually really good all the way around with everyone. Before he played for the Angels, he had a season the year that I was born in 1977 where he hit where he hit over 380 for the year.
And he won the MVP that year.
Yep. So this is Rod Carew at first base for the Angels. I played with him from 79 to 85 and posted a 339 average in 1983. Even as he was getting older at that point, he was still just a tremendous hitter. Sprayed the ball all over the field. Second base, and somebody that I remember from RBI baseball when I was growing up, this is Bobby Gritsch, played for the Angels from 77 to 86.
He was also the second baseman for the Orioles on our AL East video.
Yes. So had a pretty good career with a couple different teams. Posted a 921 OPS in 1981 in the strike shortened season. So very nice job for Bobby Gritsch. Third base, somebody who's a little bit more recent now as we get into kind of a steroid era guy, but I think definitely somebody who did not take steroids. I wouldn't think.
He might have. He wasn't at it. He didn't post amazing numbers. He had like 2 good years, and then the rest of his years were okay.
But he was on their World Series winning team in 2002, and that's Troy Glaus, and he was with them from 98 to 2004. Posted an OPS over 1,000 in the year 2000. So how many players in the league had
3.
OPSs over?
Well,
how many players?
So far on this list, 3.
I know, but how many players in the league had OPSs over
Probably
2,000?
like
I feel like it was like half the league that year went over 1,000. So shortstop now. We go back a ways for the Angels shortstop, and Gabriel really did some digging on this one. But we came up actually with Jim Fregosi, who, of course, was a manager for many, many years for 4 different teams, I think.
Yeah, he actually managed the Phillies in 1993, and they went to the World Series but lost to the Blue Jays in the Joe Carter walk-off home run.
Yeah, so a lot of you guys might remember Jim Fregosi as a manager, but he was also a really good shortstop. He hit 13 triples in 1968 and played for the Angels from 61 to 71, so he was seemed like a good, strong choice at shortstop. All right, left field, we have somebody who's a lot more recent now. Left field is Garrett Anderson. Played for the Angels from 94 to 2008. I think that was his entire career, basically. Or did he?
Maybe.
Okay.
And he also won a home run derby in that span. I'm not sure what year,
but he hit 56 doubles in 2002, which even in the steroid era, that's
still crazy. Pretty good.
Yeah, that's close to an all-time record for doubles in a season. Center field. So center field, this was really difficult, and
it was so difficult.
It was really tough, but we had to go with Mike Trout. I mean,
and we're being sarcastic, by the way.
Yeah,
this was not hard at all.
Kind of probably the easiest choice on the Angels, other than maybe starting pitcher, was Mike Trout in center field. Obviously, he's played for the Angels for his whole career from 2011 to the present, 3-time MVP, blah, blah, blah. You guys know all about Mike Trout. We don't have to go any farther there. Right field, somebody who I think actually
he's very underrated.
Yes, I was just going to say that. Very underrated. Played for the Angels for 15 seasons from 92 to 2006. Posted an OPS over 1,000 in 1995. Very consistent hitter, and that's Tim Salmon. Another player that was on their 2002 championship team. Between him and Troy Glaus, they really were kind of the backbone of that hitting lineup, and just a really good overall hitter.
And the Angels, for some reason, go after guys with fish last names.
Yep.
Trout, Salmon. Pretty soon they're gonna have a guy named like Jacob Bass.
Or Perch or Muskie, like Jim Muskie. Yeah, that'd be great. All right, so starting pitcher, you guys might have guessed this because Gabriel kind of gave it away for the Astros, but we had to go with Nolan Ryan here. He had probably his best years as an Angel in his career. He still holds the all-time strikeout record for a single season, and that's 383 that he set in 1973. I want to say, I think he had 2 seasons with the Angels where he went over 370 strikeouts in a year.
Yeah, 370 or 350, something like that.
But he played for him from 72 to 79. This was really, he was a young pitcher, but he was kind of just entering his prime at this point and just about unhittable. So in the bullpen now, 2 guys. First, more recent pitcher and another player from their 2002 championship team, and it's Troy Percival. 4-time All-Star, played for him for 10 seasons, just really, really solid and consistent out of the bullpen. And our second bullpen pitcher for the Angels, Francisco Rodriguez, who was a young player. I think, was he a rookie on that 2002 team?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, just coming into the league then, but he posted an incredible 62 saves.
It's the all-time record.
Yep. So still has the all-time record for saves in a season. So now Gabriel's going to continue on with
possibly
the Oakland A's.
The best team on this list, the Oakland A's. They have so many good players.
Probably the hardest because their history goes back so far, like deep into Philadelphia. I mean, it goes all the way back to the dead ball era.
Yes. So at catcher, a player who played for them when they were in Philadelphia, one of the best catchers of all time, pretty forgotten too. That's Mickey Cochran. Now, when I feel like people come up with the best catchers of all time list, I don't even know if he was on our list. I think we might have forgotten about him.
We might have forgotten about Mickey Cochran. I think Mickey Cochran just gets forgotten about, period. Yeah. He was an incredible hitter, and he's just one of those older players that I think has kind of fallen, like Mel Ott.
He played in the Babe Ruth era, so he was kind of overshadowed. He got
overshadowed.
Yeah, he played for the A's.
There's another player on this list for the A's who got overshadowed by Babe Ruth as well.
Even though he's insanely good.
Yes.
And so Mickey Cochran played from the A's from 1925 to 1933, and he actually won 2 MVPs with the A's, so he was a great hitter. Now, first base, this was funny. So, at first base...
We'll tell you what happened here.
At first, so,
you want to tell him who you had originally?
He was like, oh, we gotta go with Mark McGwire. And I was like, I don't know. Jason Giambi was really good, too. And so we ended up going with Mark McGwire, and then when I was doing third base, I was like, oh, we forgot about Jimmy Fox.
Well, I actually said, are you going to put Jimmy Fox on this list?
Yeah.
Or what? And Gabriel was like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, Mark McGwire gone. Jason Giambi gone.
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy Fox is just one of the best hitters of all time. Played for the A's from 1925 to 1935. He won 3 MVPs in his career, had over 500 career home runs, had an over 950 career OPS. He was a great hitter on those crazy good early 30s A's teams. So, second base, this was a very, very old player. He played for the A's from 1906 to 1914, and this is Eddie Collins. Eddie Collins had a ton of hits in his career, played for a very long time. He won the AL MVP in 1914, and he's a great contact hitter, lots of speed. I think he stole 800 bases in his career. And so, Eddie Collins had to be their second baseman.
He's way over 3,000 hits, right?
I think it's like 3,200.
Okay. Yeah, but he's, I think, solidly on the 3,000 hit club.
Third base. This was another guy who played like basically at the same time as home run. All right. Well,
there it is, right
home
there.
Home run Baker.
Home run Baker.
One of the most like.
We went way back for this list.
Yeah, one of the most talked about old players of all time. Everyone says he had so much power, even though his like highest home run season was 12 in 1913, and he played for the A's from 1908 to 1914. He was a power hitter for his day. He hit a lot of home runs for that time until Babe Ruth came into the league.
I remember when he played with Tungsten O'Houlihan on the 1904 Topeka Grapplers. Do you remember that, Gabriel?
No.
Oh, they were fantastic. That was back when you crossed home plate and it counted as 6 points. Anyway, yes, we have a lot of old players on this team.
So, not an old player, a newer player at shortstop. This is actually one of the weaker players on this team, even though he's still very good. And that's Miguel Tajada. Miguel Tajada played for the A's from 1997 to 2003 in the Moneyball days of the early 2000s. And he won the AL MVP in 2002.
That was the Moneyball year.
Yeah.
That's depicted in the movie.
Yep. So, left field, one of the best players in the history of the franchise. It's one of the best players of all time, Rickey Henderson. Rickey Henderson played from 1979 to 1984, and then he played for the A's again from 1989 to 1993. And he won the AL MVP in 1990, set the all-time record for stolen bases in a season with 130 in like 1982, I think, as he was the fastest player in baseball history. Great defender, a really good leadoff hitter, so he's their left fielder. Now for center field, probably their weakest position. This is Dwayne Murphy, and he played for them from 1978 to 1987 and won 6 Gold Gloves with them. So he was a great fielder, an okay hitter. Center field, not a lot of options for the A's, surprisingly. But in right field...
Right field, Coco Crisp.
No.
No?
Okay, so in right field...
I tried.
In right field, also one of the best players in the history of their franchise. One of the most popular players of all time. He's known as Mr. October, but that was when he was with the Yankees. This is Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson played for them from 1968 to 1975, and he won the AL MVP in 1973. And he's also the all-time leader in strikeouts, but he's very, very good. He has over 500 career home runs.
He'd be huge in today's game because basically all he did was hit home runs or strike out, just like everybody now. So, yeah.
Now for the starting pitcher, one of the best pitchers of all time, this is Lefty Grove. Lefty Grove pitched from 1925 to 1933, played on that team with Jimmy Fox, Mickey Cochran, Al Simmons, all those guys. And he won the 1931 AL MVP, won over 30 games, so he was good. He was a really good player at the time.
Probably one of the most underrated pitchers of all time.
Yeah, just because he's so old, so he's forgotten. Now for the bullpen. This is a team with probably one of the best bullpens besides the Yankees. And the A's, their first bullpen arm is Dennis Eckersley, their main closer when they were very good in the late 80s. He pitched for them from 1987 to 1995 and won the 1992 AL MVP as a closer. So,
how does that happen?
I don't know.
That's unbelievable.
He was crazy good that year, and he was one of the best bullpen arms of all time. Has over like 350 career saves, and yeah. And for the second bullpen arm is Raleigh Fingers, who was their main closer in the great early to mid 70s teams. And he pitched for them from 1968 to 1976, and he was a 7-time All-Star. And he actually also won an MVP later with the Milwaukee Brewers in 1981. So he was a great pitcher too.
Yep.
So we got 2 bullpen pitchers who won MVPs on the A's. I don't think any other team has that.
No, I don't think so.
No.
I mean, correct us if we're wrong, but I don't think so.
No one else has 2.
Not 2. Yeah. So cool. So now moving on from the A's, we're going to take a look at the Seattle Mariners. So the Mariners, we start out with their catcher, somebody from the era that I kind of remember. He played with them in the 90s and early 2000s, from 94 to 05, and that's Dan Wilson. He's actually the only catcher in the Mariners Team Hall of Fame. Interesting.
Yeah.
But they haven't, which kind of goes to show they haven't had a lot of great catchers.
Yeah.
First base for the Mariners, we went with Alvin Davis. This is somebody who was AL Rookie of the Year in '84. He kind of was with them during a bit of an unfortunate time because obviously before Griffey got there in the late '80s, early '90s, they really weren't very good. He played with them from '84 to '91. So getting into some more well-known players now. At second base, Robinson Cano. And obviously Robinson Cano has had some steroid issues and he's been suspended a couple of times, but kind of hard to overlook his numbers. He's a 5-time Silver Slugger. He had a solid 5 seasons with the Mariners where he put up huge numbers from 2014 to 2018. And yeah.
He's a great fielder too.
He is, yeah. He's a really good fielder. And again, obviously we know aside from the steroid stuff, it's just hard to overlook the numbers that he put up. So at third base, total legend, fairly recent Hall of Famer. I would say in the last 11, 12 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's Edgar Martinez, of course. I think he was with them his entire career, right?
I think so.
Yeah, 18 years.
One of the most underrated players of all time.
Yeah, and we were actually talking about him as an underrated player the other day. He played with him from '87 to 2004. Had an 1107 OPS in '95. Keeping in mind, too, that '95 was sort of just as the steroid era was starting and guys were starting to put up much bigger numbers, but it was before it was really in full swing. So to have an 1107 OPS in '95 with some great pitching in the league going on at that time was pretty outstanding. So Edgar, true legend, definitely one of the most underrated of all time. Shortstop, well, we had to go with A-Rod here. A-Rod had a great start to his career with the Mariners from '94 to 2000 before he moved on to the Rangers. He was part of that team that went into the playoffs in '95 and knocked off the Yankees and sent Don Mattingly to his retirement. He posted a 1045 OPS in '96, just his third full season in the league. And yeah, great fielder. I mean, he was just, really one of the most talented all-time players. Left field. So these were maybe a little bit more difficult.
This was a weaker position.
Yeah, left field I think was one of the more weaker positions. So we have somebody that actually played with the Mariners twice, from '96 to 2000, and then came back from '04 to '08, and that's Raul Ibanez. And he had a great season in 2006 with 123 RBIs. Just kind of a really solid overall hitter. I think he was a decent fielder too. Okay. Yeah, from what I remember. So
one guy who's not a decent fielder, Edgar Martinez.
Yeah,
he was a bad fielder.
Edgar had his problems in the field, and it's funny that he kind of ended up staying at third base for as long as he did.
Well, he was a DH too, but his main position was third when he wasn't a DH.
One position that we did not have any issues deciding for the Mariners. This is one of the easiest ones on the entire list. Center field, of course, the kid, Ken Griffey Jr., the all-time legend, played with him for 11 seasons from '89 his rookie year up to '99, and then went back from 2008 to 2009. 10-time Gold Glove winner, over 600 career home runs, just one of, I think, Gabriel and I were discussing the Mount Rushmore of 5-tool players in baseball history, and he would be on it. And we had him. Now this is 5-tool players, so all around, guys that could hit, run, field, hit for average, and so on.
It would be him, Frank Robinson, Barry Bonds, and Willie Mays.
Yeah, probably the greatest all-around players of all time. So right field, this was one that we actually kind of overlooked at first, and it was like, oh yeah, Ichiro, of course. Ichiro Suzuki played with him from 2001 to 2012 famously, was Rookie of the Year and AL MVP. His very first season in Major League Baseball in 2001. Broke the all-time hits record in 2004 for a season when he hit, 263?
Something like that.
Obviously incredible fielder, had a crazy arm, just fantastic. One of the most fun players to watch in MLB history.
Yeah.
Starting pitcher. Now there was a little controversy here because we had to decide between two, and I think we went with Felix Hernandez because he was the Cy Young winner in 2010.
I was really the one who made that decision.
Yeah, in Gabriel, we figured, I was like, okay, yeah, let's go with King Felix. But he also played with the Mariners for 15 years, so this was part longevity too. But it was kind of hard to pick anybody over Randy Johnson. Except when we really looked at Randy Johnson's numbers, he was great with the Mariners, but
he just wasn't as good as he wasn't as consistent as Felix.
And I think Johnson had his best years with the Diamondbacks. So,
Oh yeah.
So he was unhittable with the Diamondbacks, and he was just kind of still becoming a great pitcher with the Mariners. So we went with King Felix for the starting pitcher. In the bullpen, somebody who's a lot more recent, Edwin Diaz, and he was only with them for 3 seasons, which is kind of our minimum for these lists.
But he was really, really good.
Yeah, outstanding. At 57 saves in 2018, just super consistent out of the bullpen, super low ERAs, super low WHIPs, in all 3 years that he was there. And the second one may be a guy that a lot of you have forgotten about, but it's Kazuhiro Sasaki, and he was with them from 2000 to 2003. He was actually the AL Rookie of the Year in 2000, so he got off to a tremendous start in his career. And we felt like their starting pitching was definitely a lot stronger than their bullpen, and but the bullpen was, made it pretty easy for Edwin Diaz. So, cool. And now Gabriel is going to move on to the Texas Rangers, the final team on our list.
Now, this Rangers team is interesting. They're good, but if these guys on this list didn't take steroids, they would be a terrible team.
And I didn't want to give it away, but I was just going to say there's so many steroid era players on this team.
Who took steroids.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, the catcher, a guy who played in the steroid era, one of the best catchers of all time, but probably didn't take steroids. He's a Hall of Famer. Pudge Rodriguez. He played for them from 1991 to 2002 and won the AL MVP in 1999. And Pudge, great fielder. He won like 10 Gold Gloves at the catcher position and a really good hitter too. So he's their catcher. At first base, controversial, but he was good even with the steroids. It's Rafael Pomero, who played for them from 1989 to 1993 and then again in 1999 to 2003. And he had a 1050 OPS in 1999, had over 500 career home runs. He wouldn't have if he didn't take steroids, but he was good. He was good. Now at second base, a weaker position, I went with Ian Kinsler. And Ian Kinsler, you probably remember him. I think he retired like 2 years ago, but he played for the Rangers from 2006 to 2013, and he was a 4-time All-Star in his career. And he wasn't all that bad of a fielder. Third base. Now, third base, also a guy who played with Ian Kinsler, but he's a lot better. It's Adrian Beltray, one of the funniest, most iconic players of the last 10 years. And
surefire Hall of Famer.
Oh, yeah. He played for them from 2011 to 2018, and he won 5 Gold Gloves in his career, had over 3,000 hits, over 400 home runs in his career, and he was just a great, great person. So at shortstop, he was on the Mariners as well. This is Alex Rodriguez. He had probably his best years with the Rangers. He played for them from 2001 to 2003, and all 3 years he had like an OPS over 950, especially in 2003 when he won the AL MVP, posted like a 1050 OPS with around 50 home runs, 130 RBIs, something like that. But he was a very good choice for shortstop. Left field. This is Josh Hamilton. You might remember him from about 15 years ago when he was tearing it up in home run derbies. He won the AL MVP in 2010, played for the Rangers from 2008 to 2012, a crazy good power hitter, and unfortunately he had to quit baseball because of some personal problems.
Yeah, and we hope that Josh Hamilton is out there doing well, today. So it's unfortunate, what happened with that.
So at center field, this is probably their weakest position. I went with Gary Matthews Jr. He played for them from 2004 to 2006 and had an 866 OPS in 2006. You can kind of see what I'm working with here. Alright, so Gary Matthews Jr. in center field. He played for the Rangers from 2004 to 2006. He posted an 866 OPS in 2006. Not the best player, but he's good. So there weren't a lot of options for center field. But in right field, I have another steroid guy. I have Juan Gonzalez. Juan Gonzalez, one of the faces of the steroid era, played for the Rangers from 1989 to 1999, and he also played for them from 2002 to 2003, and he was a 2-time AL MVP, one being in 1998, like the heart of the steroid era. So
Yeah, and he had one season in there, I think it might have been 98 or 99, where he famously had like 160 or 165 RBIs in a season.
Yeah.
And at one point, he was actually on pace that year to challenge Hack Wilson's RBI record for a season, but he eventually kind of slowed down a little bit.
Now, for the starting pitcher, it's Nolan Ryan.
Once again, Nolan Ryan.
Nolan Ryan, once again. This is the Nolan Ryan show.
Mm-hmm.
But he pitched for the Rangers at the end of his career from 1989 to 1993. And he had 301 strikeouts in 1989. So he was like 40 years old, and he still racked up a ton of strikeouts. And, of course, walked a lot of batters, but he's just a great pitcher.
And, of course, very famously pitched a no-hitter with them at, like, age, I think, 43 or 44 in one of his final seasons. So, just unbelievable.
Now, for the bullpen, not a great bullpen. The first one was Neftali Feliz, who was their main closer in the early 2010s. He pitched for them from 2009 to 2015 and won the AL Rookie of the Year in 2010. And then the second bullpen pitcher is Joe Nathan, who only pitched for them for 2 seasons, but he was very good for them. Pitched for them in 2012 and 2013 with 43 saves. And one actual fun fact, there's you probably, if you watched a lot of like MLB bad calls videos, this is one of the ones on here where it was like 5-4 Rangers against the Tampa Bay Rays. Bottom of the ninth with like 2 runners on. It was a 3-2 count, and he threw a pitch like in the dirt, and the umpire called it strike 3. And the Rays manager at the time, Joe Madden, came out, and when the Rangers were celebrating the win, you could see Joe Nathan go, "Wow." Mm-hmm. So that was funny because he knew it was not a strike.
He knew. Yeah, he knew.
Yeah.
And we had to kind of break our rule of a player being with the team for 3 years for Joe Nathan. That's kind of representative of how weak the Texas bullpen has been over the years, but he was a really good pitcher.
Mm-hmm. So that's it.
That's it. That's our AL West all-time teams. We hope that you've enjoyed this video. We hope everybody is enjoying the summer and the baseball season, and everybody's healthy and well out there. And we'll be back soon, I think, with something a little bit different coming up. We're maybe even another little non-baseball video. So we'll see.
Possibly.
But all right, we'll see you soon.
Yep.
See ya.
Bye.